Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jenny will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. Today, I have with me Tiffanie Kellog. Now, I met her through Michael Whitehouse, who he's been on the show once or twice, or maybe I don't know how many times by now, and met her through one of his multitude of summits or virtual interactive events that he's been hosting over the past couple of years. And when I saw what her topic of expertise is, I was like, we need you on the show because yes, she is a referral generator is literally her tag right here on Zoom. So she entered the entrepreneurial world in 2003 and since then has enjoyed being able to help her clients make money, save time, and have fun. Since then, Tiffanie has spent her time traveling across the globe, helping thousands of entrepreneurs create amazing businesses and have spectacular lives through keynote presentations, workshops, online programs, and more. But here's the thing. Her expertise is referrals. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how people can network appropriately. And she also has this really cool thing where she teaches people how to turn top clients into a downline. So we're going to hit all those things. So welcome to the show, Tiffanie.
Thank you so much for having me today.
I've been so excited since I first met you and found out what you did. And I was like, okay, my audience needs to hear from you for sure. So tell us how you got from entering the entrepreneurial world in 2003 to becoming the referral generator.
Well, I got into business in 2003 and I spent my first 2 years cold calling. And while I detest doing it, I was pretty good at it. But luckily somebody called me and said, hey, Tiffanie, you want to go check out this networking group? And so I went to my very first networking event. It was a BNI meeting. And I'm like, oh, there's a room full of people that can pass me referrals. Yes. Where do I sign up? I want to be a part of this. And what I realized is just being a part of a group, I didn't have any clue what I was doing. I have a marketing degree and they didn't teach us referral marketing in school. And so I had to kind of go out and figure this out. I mean, it was 2005. I was at the library looking in the card catalog or maybe by then the card catalog was on the computer, but I was like looking for actual books on how do you do this networking and referral marketing thing. And I started learning more and taking programs and doing this and doing that. And I started facilitating some trainings for both BNI and Ascentive in 2006.
Okay.
To the point I was doing about half of my promotional products business, half of the training. And in 2008, my husband and I had a conversation. He's like, which do you like more? And I'm like, oh yeah, the training. That is totally like promotional products are fun, but what I get to do with people helping them generate referrals is transformational. And at that point in time, it's like, okay, that's my full-time gig. This is what I'm doing for a living. So I guess we're going on 15 years now that I get to call this my full-time gig. And it's so fun to be able to help people have that amazing business and spectacular life.
I think that's such a great thing because I've been also a BNI member. My audience knows they are probably so sick of hearing about BNI, but I tell people if not BNI, find something similar, find a group to network with. BNI is not the only one out there. There's lots of them out there. Go check them out and see what fits you. Right. But if you're not networking, you're not going to be able to grow your business because you're not meeting enough people to let people know who you are and what you do. And one of the previous guests that we've had on the show, Lisa Wilbur, wrote a book called Said the Lady with Blue Hair. And she has one of her rules that she teaches her downline that she's been teaching, oh gosh, for like 25 years. When enough people know what you do, you'll be successful. So you just have to know lots of people. Well, how do you do that? You network, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So what have you found to be are some of the key networking either don't do's or the key networking to do's, like bonus pro tips that you are like your absolute favorite? You can go in either direction with that, or both. Heck, if you want to. I'm sure the audience is like, no, tell us both.
I'm like, how do I cram my first book, 4.5 Networking Mistakes, into like 3 minutes of a response?
Yes.
All right. So some networking do's and don'ts. I think number one, when it comes to networking, is realizing that you're not going to the networking event to sell to the people there. I mean, how often do you take your checkbook or your credit card or cash to be like, I'm going networking. Let me buy from people.
No,
nobody does. But not we all, but at least I used to. I would go to sell.
Yeah.
And so we call it the networking disconnect. It's like people ain't there to purchase, but you're there to sell. So when I go to a networking meeting, for me, it's about how do I use this event to book a meeting from the meeting. So maybe I do meet some prospects. Brilliant. Let's schedule a follow-up time with them. I'm also looking to meet some referral sources. So those non-competing industries with the exact same target market. Because if I can find them, it's not give me business today. It's who can have that flow of business into my world, into my life. And so utilizing that, so meeting not only the prospects and the referral sources.
Yeah. And I think that's a key thing is a lot of people just go into these networking things just going, well, I will meet who I'm going to meet, instead of going in with some sort of intention of who to attempt to meet, right?
Yes. I'd like to, and this is networking nugget number 3 from 4.5 Networking Mistakes, is set a goal. So if I'm going to a networking event, I want to set a goal. And this could be the number of prospects I meet, the number of referral sources I meet. It could be connecting with people that I already know, making introductions, scheduling appointments. So I create that goal. Now, the introvert in me, because I'm sure some of the audience out there, it's like, oh, I don't like networking. I'm an introvert. I get you. I'm 100% there with you. I am an introvert. I don't love networking. I don't even know that I say I like networking, though I know I need to do it for my business. So if you're like, oh, so I set my goal. If I get done in 20 or 30 minutes, I leave. I hit what I needed to do. I don't have to stay for 2 hours.
Yeah, no. And I definitely get that, because one of the things that I learned through COVID is that I'm an ambivert. You know, I have a tendency to show up in groups of people as an extrovert, but every once in a while I get peopled out too. So, and I have to go recharge my battery alone with no one else around, or at least just my partner around. But I think that's very true. Or a very important thing to have is that goal, that idea of what you want to accomplish. Because if you go into it with no intention, guess what? You're going to stand there for 2 hours, walk away and go, what the hell did I just, that's 2 hours I'm never going to get back. Right.
Right.
And I love the variety of goals that you put out there for people to consider as options. Right. So I know there's somebody who I've talked to about networking before, just through private conversation. I don't think I had them on the show, but they said what they do is they'll take 5 of their business cards, and their goal is to only give out those 5 to the people who they really, really connect with and want to set up that next meeting with. And they're going to try and get those 5 people's business cards in return. That's it. And so once they've done that, it's, in and out, and we're good. They've talked to 5 people. They've confirmed that these 5 people would like to have a longer conversation over lunch, over coffee, over Zoom, whatever it may be. And they're happy to go. So I think those are great tips for people who are especially just getting started. We also alluded in the intro that you also have this great process for turning your top clients into your downline. So, and other ways to grow your team. So, because I know the people who tend to listen to my show are people who want to grow a team and want to have a downline. So how do you, or what's the process that you have for turning your top clients into your downline?
So I want to start before I give like the details and saying, don't ever piss off your clients by trying to recruit them to where they're not going to, be your client anymore. Like
Right.
I get we want the downline, but I have met some people that have turned off, like they just annoy their clients so much to get to be the downline, they stop being clients. So and keep that in mind as I say this. I am 100% fine if my client that is an amazing client just stays a client and doesn't become downline. Now, if they become downline, bonus.
Yeah. So
what I typically will do is take these good clients, especially if they've been clients for a year or few. So if you're newer in business, it could just be the one thing they've done with you. If you've been a longer, then you could say, here's the 8 or 10 times that you've ordered from me. Or if some of your people have like the shows that they're hosting. And I would take a look and run the numbers. Oh, this year you've ordered from me exclusively $1,000 and you hosted the show that was another $1,000 in sell. So, and again, I'm making up numbers, y'all.
Right.
But $2,000 this year, if you had been part of my team, you would have been able to earn whatever the percentage is for your type of business. And instead of saying, hey, do you want to be part of my team? You're saying, hey, here's what you could have earned. Would that be of interest to you?
Mm.
And so you're really just saying, if you keep doing what you were already doing, here's the more that you can create. Now, some people will say, yes, oh my gosh, really? I could have been earning and if I was doing this, I could have asked this person or that person. And so hopefully some people will be inspired to say, look, yeah, over the past 5 years since I've known you, I could have earned $5,000 on that money that I spent with you. So that's bonus. Now, if they're like, yeah, I'm really not interested. My best friend does Pampered Chef. And so I'm all about it. I've known her for 18 years. We just got back. Her husband and my husband were all like BFFs. We just spent a week in Maine and New Hampshire. So I'm really familiar with the way of her business and I love her to death. I'm not right to try and open this as my business. And so if you've got a client that says no, honor and respect that.
Yeah.
Though now is the perfect time to ask for the referrals.
Mm.
So this could be asking for the referral of, do you know anyone else that needs or wants? Or it could be asking for other potential downline people. The way you ask matters though. Most people say, do you know anybody that needs my products? And there's 2 edits we want to make on that. First, instead of do you know someone, who do you know who? We're inundated by, I think, between 65 to 75,000 pieces of stimuli on a daily basis. Our brain can process about 2,000 to 2,500. And so anytime our brain can say no, or I don't know, or just stop, it does. So if you say, do you know anyone? Our brain is like, look, I got other stuff to be doing. No. If you change the verbiage to who do you know, the brain literally, unless it's a different language, but in English, it has to begin to look.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the part of it. And then the other thing is not needs my product, because what you're saying is, I don't know who's a good client for me. You please figure it out. And so begin to think about, okay, what about that person is attractive? So who do you know who also likes to pack their lunch in mason jars and eat organic? Who do you know who is worried about all the chemicals that are out there and their kids being exposed to that? Like, begin to think about what makes somebody a great client for you and ask in that way.
Yeah, I think that is super important, especially if you can, really narrow it down, because one of my networking pet peeves is when I'm talking to somebody and saying, how can I help you? And, who's your ideal client? And the words anyone or everyone pops out of there, or everybody pops out of their mouth. I'm like, hard no. Sorry, I don't know anyone and I don't know everyone and everybody's not in my phone. So, I need that specific descriptor, right? So, I tell people, my tribe that I work the best with are direct sales moms with ADHD. Diagnosed or undiagnosed, it doesn't matter. That's my tribe. Those are the people that I end up helping the most. So when I tell people that, they go, oh, okay. So then they start digging through their mental Rolodex of, okay, who are the direct sales people I know? And then which of them do I know also have ADHD? And you know what? It may not be anybody, but they go, what's really fun and interesting is they go, well, I don't know if she's got ADHD, but I know someone in Pampered Chef, or I know someone in doTERRA, or I know someone in.
Well, it's close enough. Because human mind, we can go from really specific and work our way out, but we can't go general and work our way in. And so if we can get close, that the mind works. I remember I was at a networking event talking to somebody, who's your ideal client? And they gave me realtors. And I'm like, okay, realtors where? They're like, anywhere. I'm like, look, dude, I know a lot of realtors. Realtors are one of my top clients that I work with. And I'm like, there's too much. He gave me a city. I'm like, here's the top 4 that I know there. It was too broad.
Right.
And so, who do you know who that sells Pampered Chef? Or who do you know who that is, even if it's the mom with ADHD that does direct sales, but she doesn't have ADHD, or she's direct sales with ADHD, but she's not a mom, it was close enough to get us there. And that's what we're looking for.
Exactly. And I think the reason why people go the other direction is the fear of missing out of a potential referral. But it's like, if you can't get their brain to latch on to anything and come up with any answer at all, you're missing out on one referral, right? The one person who they maybe would think of, right? Because, I'm sure when I said I work with direct sales moms with ADHD, someone who is just listening went, oh, wait, I know someone, and I know that works really well for me in BNI and, and even not in BNI, I can share that tidbit anywhere about who I work with, and people go, oh yeah, I think I know some people like that, or I have an idea, like maybe somebody I know, but they don't know if the company they're with is direct sales or network marketing or MLM. It doesn't matter. If you can just get them to start the conversation, that's what's important, right? So Tiffanie, you also said there's some other ways that you can help them figure out how to grow their team. What are some other ideas that you have that can help someone grow a team?
Well, I think we kind of started the conversation on this, who do you know who?
Yes.
And could you have almost a wanted poster of people on your team and give a description of what these team members could look like? What do they have in common? I think that when we paint that picture, then we can go out there and ask. And I love asking for stuff like this on social media. Who do you know who? And then tell us about that ideal downline team member. Like, what are the type of people that you love working with? And if you're like, I'm not sure, maybe take a step back and think about who's in your current downline. What do they have in common? Or if you don't have a downline, what do you love? Like, I got connected with Michael Whitehouse that you were talking about earlier because I happen to be a huge nerd. Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who. If it's nerdy, the answer is yes. I went to MegaCon 2 weeks ago. Yep. That I have a TARDIS in my office.
Nice.
Like, my closet is a TARDIS door. It's brilliant and beautiful. My husband made it for me. Y'all are listening, so you can't see it. But
she just showed it to me, y'all. It's awesome. And I pointed at the little mini Stargate that I have on my desk that actually lights up. That was a gift from a friend who knows I'm a nerd.
Wow,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, so you met him because you're a nerd.
Right. So I like as you're describing that ideal downline person, what are things that you like? Because what I find is if we can find something sticky beyond just the business aspect of it, it makes for a much better introduction, much better potential. And so I'll put on social media, who do you know who? Describe your downline. And then hopefully you're going to get some comments. Now, if nobody in your network comments, a small percentage of it could be that they just don't know the type person that you're looking for.
Right.
But what I find the majority of time is if you're not getting any comments, you're not being specific enough. And so if I put that post up and a day later I have no comments, I'll delete it, wordsmith it, and put it back up. Now, I'm not saying if somebody says, let's say Susie commented, oh, I know Mary, she would be perfect. Do not reach out to Mary. That is not what we do here. Correct. What we do is we reach out to Susie and say, hey, Susie, thank you so much for telling me about Mary. Would you mind doing a 3-way email introduction, text, WhatsApp, phone call, coffee, whatever may work so that you can introduce me. And here's what I want you to say. So I highly recommend as an entrepreneur, whatever kind of business, that you have scripts, whether it's email, text, because those are different, WhatsApp, you got to make sure it's appropriate for how you're doing it, that they can cut and paste and say, hey, Mary, it's Susie. I really want to introduce you to this person who may have an amazing opportunity for you. And let them help create that connection. So it's not you reaching out cold. As I mentioned, I'm good at cold calling and I detest it. So let's use our referral network.
Yeah, no, I think it then also helps activate the wonderful word of mouth, like trust building piece that comes from that too. Because it builds trust, not just with the third party who didn't know you before, but it builds trust with the person that you are in collaboration with to say, hey, this person might be a good fit for whatever. See if they're open to just meeting me and having a conversation kind of thing. So I think by having, and especially the smart, for people who are intending to build and grow a team forever and ever and ever, amen.
Yeah.
Like this is your retirement plan, is to do this business and build a huge organization so that you can retire someday. Then having something like a templated script for yourself. Do not give that same thing to your downline because it's not about them. They need to write their own templated script, but walk them through the process of how you wrote yours. But having that is so important. It's going to save you so much time if you don't have to think about it each and every time you're asking for that introduction.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. Sometimes I'll have people that have big teams and they're like, all right, I got this, but I'm not giving it to my downline, but will you come in and speak to my downline and, kind of share? Because I think each person is its own flavor. And so I think you have to be authentic. I know is an overused word, but what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you and vice versa. So you want it to make sure, it sounds like you and not everybody in the downline is using the exact same thing.
Oh my gosh. And especially
y'all can't see her rolling her eye. She's totally rolling her eye. You can see her like, oh, don't do that.
Yes, please do not. Because it's so funny because I'm in the industry and I have like 4,700 friends and followers on Facebook, right? And I can always tell when somebody put out a really good post with a particular company, because then all the other friends and followers that I'm friends with on Facebook, all of a sudden all have the same post. And I have the same post showing up 17 times in my feed and nobody changed the wording to reflect themselves. They literally copied it word for word with all the same emojis in it. And and I go, well, now I don't know who originally did it, except the one. I often find the one that has the most engagement was probably the one who started it, because they wrote it from their own
perspective,
right? Their own self. It's their words, and so it sounds like them. So all the people in their network know that that's them. And when others see that, and this is something that used to happen to me all the time, because when I was doing my direct sales business and was putting posts out on Facebook, and it was really fun to see because people would, people in my company would message me and say, hey, I really love that post. Can I steal it? And I'm like, yeah, highly recommend you change the words though. And there were people who didn't. They word for word copied and pasted, like including any post that had like my kids' names in it or something. And so they didn't even read the whole thing, and I'm like, having to go send the message, be like, hey, you might want to put your own kid's name in there, FYI, because it was the wild, wild west of Facebook and social media and doing business on social media back then. Because this was like 2012, 2014, 2015, when Facebook wasn't holding direct sales and network marketing back as much, because they really do throttle a lot of posts in the industry.
I've been hearing a lot lately of, just them changing kind of the rules of the game, and what worked before, not anymore. And it's a free platform, so there's nothing we can do about it, but it's like,
right. Yeah, exactly. So, and, it really helps. And I don't think authentic is overused. I think sometimes people use it incorrectly in wrong places, maybe, because I think it really is important for people to really be themselves. I mean, if people go and like check out my profile, I am 100% me. I do not hide anything on my page. And especially if they go look at my TikTok and follow my TikTok, that is definitely me and my sense of humor, because it is not my business TikTok. It's my personal TikTok.
I'm gonna have to go check it out. I'm not big on TikTok yet. I'm not cool enough for TikTok yet. Once I'm cool, will probably be when I come on. But I'm going to definitely go check that out. What is your TikTok?
My name, Jenny Bellinger, all
Perfect.
together. Like, I don't make it hard to find me. I mean, seriously, if people are on TikTok, they can find me. I'm not difficult to find. And I do have a business TikTok where I put business tips and things like that up. But I do make sure that I put out who I am in the world. So that way people are, because I know people are attracted to who I am. And that's the best way to do business, I feel. Feel free to contradict me if I'm wrong.
I'm a big believer in, if you're your true self, A, you're going to attract the people that you want in your world. And B, it's just a lot less work. Because if you're trying, like when I first got into networking, so it was 2005, I was 26 years old, and like I was still getting carded. Like I go to the store to buy computer air, like the spray stuff. I used it for the embroidery machines. I would get carded for that. Like I left my ID at home. I had to go home, get my ID to buy computer air. So I looked young, and I really felt like I needed to be this professional and always perfect. And it took a lot of energy. It wasn't letting me connect with people. So when I said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
With a filter, I always say I'm me on Facebook. Like if my grandmother was around, she sees me. So I'm not like crazy, but I am authentically me. Just, not crazy.
Oh no, I put the fullness of myself, even though my mother is friends with me on Facebook, because I'm like, you know what? She knows me. Right. She created me. It's the way, that's kind of the way I see that. But I think it really is important, because that what you put out there is going to attract a certain kind of person. So if you find you're not attracting your ideal client, you're probably not putting out your authentic self.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key. So, oh my gosh. So let's jump back into the referral thing here.
Okay.
And this will be the last thing, because there's probably some reasons that people ain't getting referrals.
Yeah. So much so I've got a free ebook with like, here's the 5 reasons that you ain't getting referrals. And it's interesting. You and I have already touched on one of those, of this idea of I can help everyone.
Oh God. Yeah.
Because it's just too broad. It's just too general. And so we do have to be a little bit more specific.
Yeah.
Now, another one of those reasons, and I ain't going to give them all. There's my stuff coming out that ain't. But we have to make sure that we're not assuming people know what we do. And I'm sure you and probably lots of people out there are listening to this when I got in trouble a year or 2 ago because I bought a spiralizer off of Amazon. I didn't know it was a new product Pampered Chef had made. And so my Pampered Chef friend was like, I sell those. I'm like, I didn't know. And usually like when she gets the new products, like I'm at her house all the time. So usually I see the stuff. I just didn't realize that they had it. I'm like, oh, I'm in so much trouble. Not really, but
right.
I was. However, we have to make sure that the people in our world know what we do, not only to purchase from us and to refer us. So I think it's really important that we make sure people know what we do.
Yeah. Well, it also helps if we can accurately describe what it is we do.
That's true too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. Well, I just was going to say really quickly, one of my favorite posts that I see people doing as engagement posts is describe badly what you do. Right. And so mine, what I do described badly is I sit on Zoom all day long. That's what I do. Yep. Right. No one cares what I do. What people really care about is what problem I solve. Right. But seriously, we could do a whole episode just about that. Like, how do you identify that? Where do you find it? How do you put it out there in a way that people actually want to hear it? So we might have to have you come back to talk about that at some point. So you mentioned about the ebook. So I want to let everybody know, let my badass crew know that Tiffanie gave me a link so that you guys can go download the ebook called, let's see, let me get it right. Why You Ain't Getting Referrals. So it's 5.
That's my authenticity of being Southern coming out.
I love it because I also say ain't. So you are not alone. That's part of why you and I have, I think, connected so well. We have nerds and lots of Southernisms going on, even though I'm a Yank, and we'll have that discussion another time. But it's Why You Ain't Getting Referrals. And the link is in the show notes. So if this is the first time you're ever listening to the show and you're going, show notes, what are show notes? How do I get to the link? Where do I find it? What you're going to do is grab your phone, click on today's episode, scroll up just a little bit. You'll see the text under Tiffany's beautiful picture. And in there, you'll see the link to Why You Ain't Getting Referrals. She also has this awesome 5-day referral challenge that she does once a quarter. So we're about to talk about one that's happening in summer of 2023. But don't worry, if you missed it, that's okay. There's another one coming.
Yes.
Just go check it out. So what happens in the 5-day referral challenge?
So we cram a whole lot into 30 minutes a day on Zoom, and I share referral tips. And we do a little numbers thing, which is not my favorite numbers, but there's an Excel spreadsheet to do the math for you, where we'll actually figure out how many referrals you need to give to the people in your network to hit your revenue goals.
Ooh.
Yeah. And we've got the spreadsheet, makes it super easy. The goal is to know what to give in order to gain. We also talk about how your behavioral style may be impacting your referability and how can we have a better relationship with people. I share a technique that we use on social media to help get you business. And so you can sell without selling. And it's brilliant. So I've got 2 social media tactics, and there's a bunch of other stuff going on. We have it live on Zoom, but you can watch the recording. And so the goal is within that 30 minutes a day, hopefully you'll get enough knowledge to, in 30 minutes a week, be able to double your referrals.
Ooh, I love that idea. Yeah. So once again, in the show notes, we're putting a link to her 5-day referral challenge. And that link will be good no matter when you listen to the show. Just grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, click on the episode and go find that link to download the ebook and jump in on her next 5-day referral challenge so you can figure out how to increase your referrals. So Tiffanie, you have been amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you for being on the show.
And you're amazing too. I so appreciate being here.
Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to share this episode with everybody. And especially since it's coming out at the end of May, probably on Memorial Day. So this will be perfect timing for jumping right into the summertime 5-day referral challenge. So y'all, don't wait. I know you're probably listening right on the holiday because you got nothing better to do. And click on the episode and make sure you go jump into that. So, badass crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.